Hi everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful autumn so far. This is one of my most favorite times of the year. It is a planting of flower bulbs in the fall for winter and spring blooms. This past winter I planted over 300 Tazetta Daffodil bulbs, and most of them came from the mixture from Colorblends called Scilly Daffs. Scilly Daffs meaning the Isles of Scilly, where they've been cultivating scented narcissi or scented daffodils for many generations. This past summer I had to dig some bulbs up because I was planting some perennials, some annuals in certain parts of the garden. And as well, I also wanted to clean up some of my pots. And so as you can see here, I have, I think this is probably 80 bulbs from the Scilly Daffs blend, which I want to plant in this bed right here. In this blend, I did not see the Tazetta Daffodil called Geranium in the mix, and so I'm also going to be adding Geranium. Geranium is an heirloom from 1930. Within the Scilly Daffs blend, I recalled seeing Grand Primo. Grand Primo is a legendary 18th century Tazetta. The first to bloom were the Grand Soleil d'Or, which is Big Golden Sun in French. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, by the way. That one bloomed, I think, as early as mid-January for me. Avalanche, according to John Sheeper's website, is sweetly fragrant and is also known as 17 Sisters for its multitudinous cascade of dollish 1-inch flowers. Narcissus Tazetta, they originate from the Mediterranean region, primarily Portugal and Spain, and also Northern Africa. I'm here in California, and I also have the Mediterranean climate as well. And so Tazetta daffodils are just perfect for where I am. The first rain of the fall season comes usually towards the end of October or early November. The ground moistens, and the bulbs, they start to sprout roots and they start to grow. So last year, some of my paper whites that were in the ground for many years started to bloom, I think the third week of December. They did not look this nice and pristine when I pulled them out of the ground or from the pots, but I did get a chance to clean them up just a couple months ago. Many of you probably know how to plant your bulbs, but of course the roots come out, you know, from the bottom right here. This is the basal plate, and then the pointed side up right here. That's where the shoots, the leaves, the stalks, and the flower stalk comes up. So a rule of thumb is to plant about 2 to 3 times the height of the bulb. And when you measure the planting of the bulb, it is from the base, so 6 inches from the base. All right, let's get planting. Awesome. Look at that. Excited to grow already. We've had nights already in the high 50s. And so some of these are already like waking up. This bulb is waking up as well. Look at this. This is really exciting. So they're all planted up, 6 inches deep, and the soil had been amended, I think down to about 10 inches deep with compost and planting mix, and also some perlite. I've been reading up on the Tazetta daffodils online, and I just want to share some of what I found. So from Q Daffs, Tazettas are the least cold-loving but the most floriferous of the Narcissus genus, with 3 to 20 florets per scape with a sweet, complex, layered perfume. Tazetta comes from the Italian, describing the florets, and I'm going to try to say this in Italian. Maybe I'm off, but it's tazze e piattini.
Tazze e piattini.
Ah, I'm close.
Tazze e piattini.
Cups and saucers in Italian. The Narcissus Tazetta is considered the oldest cultivated Narcissus. The remains of Narcissus Tazetta bulbs were found in the graves of ancient Egyptians. In Greek mythology, the Narcissus Tazetta is associated with the myth of Narcissus, a youth who fell in love with his own reflection. He was so obsessed with himself, he withered away, and the flower that bears his name sprang up where he died. The Chinese sacred lily is a popular paper white variety, is a Tazetta that is believed to have reached China via the Silk Road around 1200 years ago. It's associated with and grown for flowering during Chinese New Year and symbolizes prosperity and good fortune. Tazettas were the first daffodils to be grown in great numbers primarily by the Dutch and the British in the 19th century for the cut flower market. Generally speaking, Tazettas grow best in zones 6A through southern 8A and western 10. But it all depends on specific cultivars and the environment. So where I am here in zone 9A West Coast, California, in November we get cooler nights and first frost usually comes around the 3rd or 4th week of November. So we have this cool period from the 3rd or 4th week of November all the way through the early and mid-February. And we do dip into the low 30s sometimes, but usually overnight, and it's a very, very short period of time. My bloom show usually runs from the end of December through the end of February. It's getting dark. I'm actually starting to get bitten by mosquitoes right now. I hope you get a chance to grow Tazetta daffodils this year, whether it's in ground, in containers, or during the holiday season, because paper whites are, of course, Tazetta daffodils.